Good morning. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. Good morning. Oh, what is it today, Mom? Wednesday?
I think it is.
I think it is.
All
My
day.
mom's back in the studio with me. We're working on putting some kits together. Let me grab the mousse. We're doing the mousse right now because, you know, we're going to Maine this weekend to the Arundel Gallery in Kennebunkport. I changed him up a little bit for the kit. I made the background a little bit lighter with more turquoises. So we're putting together the mousses right now, and then we're going to be putting together the Try to Remember set. Getting it together, man. It's all coming together, maybe. Kirsten, good morning. Good to see you. I'm going to send you an answer in a little while. It has been nonstop fun lately, truly. Cynthia, good morning. Happy coffee time to you, too. And Penny, oh, I wanted to show Penny's thing. It's on the back stoop. Can you grab it, Mom?
What does it look like?
It's the big tie-dye thing. It's a big Penny, I want to show you your thing on the air. It's drying on the back stoop.
Okay.
If you can. It's not a big deal, Mom.
No,
Kira, good morning.
Moving slowly.
Donna, good morning.
Lots of stuff in the
Good to
studio.
see you. Barbara, cheers, my dears. You put Kahlua in your coffees. You're pushing the envelope. You know what? It's for me, it's after 12, right? So that is fine. Some days are different than others, and some days are better than others. And some days it's nice to have a mimosa for breakfast or Kahlua in the coffee, right? Sounds like a metaphor. But some days that is just what the doctor ordered. Penny, this is your
Gorgeous.
half yard. It's gorgeous, isn't it?
Yes.
Probably won't show up great color-wise on.
You kidding?
Yeah, it's a nice big piece. Lots of colors. I was doing this tie-dye effect in the, what was the class called? I already forgot. Summer of Love, this past dyeing class. So it is quite bright colors. It looks a bit less bright than it actually is. It's quite colorful. I've really been enjoying doing the tie-dyeing. It is time-consuming, but you can see the effect is really fun. And it does make for a wonderful multicolored background, as you can imagine. Let me finish saying hellos, and then I'll go into little announcements. Chrissy, good to see you. Happy Hump Day. I remember that. Days working in the office and stuff when the week was very had a definite shape. You know, Happy Hump Day. I love that. Chrissy says, "You go, Barbara." Linda, good to see you. Good to see you. Happy coffee time. And Dave, you're back. Happy coffee time. Good to see you. Oh, it's good to see everybody. Oh, La Pony Girl, Elise Pony Girl, hello, so pretty. Thank you so much. Joy, I finished your stuff too. I have to dye half of the blue again, Joy. You can't imagine with that whole dyeing at 11:30 at night and then leaving for the hurricane in such a tailspin. I dyed the wrong blue, so I wasted like 2 yards of material trying to figure out what the right blue was, and I finally got it. I had written it wrong on your card. Classic, right? I trust myself handwriting more, but once in a while when things are crazy, I still make a terrible mistake. So anyway, I wanted to tell you, I'm not quite ready yet with announcing anything, but the next the next dyeing class that's coming up is the Brady Bunch palette, right? So this is all I know for sure are these colors. Let me bring them closer to you. I might add a couple. I'm still undecided. I haven't doctored these at all, but I've got like, I wanted to make sure that it was still quite usable. Hi, Denise. I wanted to be sure that there were colors in it. I didn't want to go full blast sort of 70s because I thought that was maybe too much of one thing. So I used colors that I remember from the Brady's episodes. This is like a dove gray, like a wood rose kind of pink or a dusty rose, kind of a coppery rusty brown, like a chocolatey brown, a sky blue, Alice's apron, and then like a golden sunflower marigold, a kind of avocado. This is like a straw, I was thinking of the Hawaii episode when they had those straw skirts on, and then like a pumpkin-y color. We have to have an orange with like the Brady Bunch palette, right? My arm still hurts, so I'm holding it funny. But good morning, Donna. How are you? Good morning, Beverly and Sharon. Hello. And Jill, good morning. Jill, I have to answer you too. And Catherine, good morning in California. Good to see you. So I'm working on this, and I'm thinking about ways that I'm going to doctor these because, we do different things to different colors. But what I'm thinking of for this coming class, the Brady Bunch palette, is I'm thinking of doing at least 2 more colors. And only doing on camera for the class, possibly making the class a hair shorter because it just feels so long to me. showing techniques, and then leaving you at another time or when we log off to do a few more colors without me that might be solids. Because we tend to, in these classes, do every yarn and every wool with a specific look, technique. And I'm thinking, let's do some techniques so we keep learning new techniques, but maybe it'd be good to have a few pieces of wool or some yarn in there that will end up being solid colors. Because you want these to be all married together like a good happy family, right? So I'm still thinking about that. I'm still thinking about a nice caramel. And if you want to give me a shout out, I am trying to do Brady Bunch kind of theme, so 70s theme. But again, I don't want to go totally crazy bell bottoms, flowers, and those sort of really bright, more tacky 70s colors. I'm trying to stay kind of in the middle toward a palette that would be good for traditional rug hooking too. Oh, everybody's logging on. April. I love coffee time too. Good to see you, Denise. Thank you, Cindy from Northern Illinois. Good to see you. I think that would be good, Kira, right? Because then you end up with, what, I'm just looking at how well this palette goes with this. And isn't that funny? Because this is 1966. Brady Bunch was later, though, wasn't it? It was like 1970s, wasn't it, Mom, the Brady Bunch?
I think so.
It's quite similar, though. This palette is quite similar. Isn't that funny? I do that a lot. This is like a subliminal message to me all the time, this giant rug that's behind me. That is so funny. So before I forget, let me tell you, there's a few things going on. Again, the class in Maine still has spots in Kennebunkport this weekend. If you are free, it's going to come with the moose pattern as a kit and I've hand-dyed everything. Everything I've hand-dyed. For hooking, and it comes with the hook, and then the punch class is the one with the try to remember flowers. Can you pass me that one, Mom, on the table?
The moose?
No, the finished one.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, the try to remember. That's all right. She's awake. She's just counting and weighing wool. This is the other one that comes as a punching pattern. So, and that comes with a punch too. So it's a lot of stuff for not that much money at all. I forget what she put it at, but I know it's not a ton at all. So that should be fun, and it's just nice to be in Kennebunkport, isn't it? One more blast for the summer. So we love it.
I missed it so much.
I did too. We went 2 years ago. They weren't open last year, but we went 2 years ago to do a German paper cutting class with Pamela Dalton, who I love. She illustrates children's books, and I have some of her art. But they didn't do anything last year, so I'm very happy to be back this year to teach.
Teaching.
And it's going to be a great class. So if you're anywhere near there, please think about coming. It's going to be super fun, and there's going to be lots of supplies and stuff and good times. So that's coming up on Saturday this coming week. Plus Sunday is our book club night afternoon, starting at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tracy, Chevalier with a single line. I'm in the middle of a single thread. Good Lord, every time I screw that up.
Can't do it.
I'm only halfway through the book, and I absolutely love the book. I hope it's not going to crash and burn.
And I didn't get it back.
Oh, you let someone borrow
and they're
it?
Loving it.
Oh, dear. That happens, doesn't it?
I
know. So that's coming up Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I will set that up as a Zoom thing, and I will post that after this coffee time. I kind of forgot. Also, Dave the Brady Bunch, that was my childhood.
Oh, yeah.
Pork chops and applesauce. Absolutely. Don't play ball in the house. That was Martha's Martha. That was Marcia's Nose. Was that the Marcia's Nose episode where they were playing ball in the house? Remember her? Or am I thinking of the movie? Her nose got broke in the series, didn't it? God, there were some classics. There were some classics. I have a special fondness for the Brady Bunch because years ago when I was much younger, I was out at the theater. I went to a theater show on Cape Cod. It was before the Falmouth Playhouse burnt down, sadly. But Greg Brady was one of the actors, and the show was City of Angels, the musical, which I already really loved. So I went to see it with one of my friends who I was working with at the time. And afterward, I stopped to have a drink at the bar, and Greg came over. And he was super friendly and nice. We chatted for a long time, and he pulled out one of his books, because he'd just written, maybe it's called Growing Up Brady, something like that. And he wrote on the first page, to Deanna, I think you're groovier than Marcia. I still have that, right? I've thrown out all of my books that I haven't read, but I kept that one. That'll be fun. That was my childhood too. I really enjoyed that. You're going to start it on Audible, Catherine. That's perfect. Because it can't be more than 10 hours or something. It sounds like a lot, but there's still many days, isn't there?
There it is.
Yeah, it's so good so far. I like all of her books that I've read. I read Hyacinth Dress, which sometimes I get her confused, Tracy Chevalier, I get her confused with,
Joanna.
Nope, not
Nope.
Joanna Harris, although I love her
I
too.
love
Joanne
Joanna
Harris.
Harris.
Oh, God, I love her.
Oh, she's crazy.
Yeah, no, who's the other one that's like her? Susan. Come on.
Can't think of it.
It'll come to me at 4 a.m. Dang it. Broken Nose was a football. I think you're right. I think you're right. Anyways, so we're doing our book club. I'll set up the Zoom meeting. I'll post that so you can log on at 4. And Marcia is going to be doing a lot of the hosting for that. This was her book choice, and I think it was a fantastic book choice.
Great book choice.
Fantastic. So I'll be on, of course. We'll all be on, but I'm gonna sign over to Marcia for quite a bit of it to take over because I don't like it always being my face, my voice, Queen Bee. I like it when we share, faces and time and stuff like that. So she's going to take over for part of that, and I'll contribute too. We all will contribute, I'm sure. So that's coming up Sunday, and a little bit further out, I just wanted to let you know dates that I have on my calendar in case you're anywhere near me. I'm doing a couple of fairs in the near future, like Table at Fair with tons of supplies because I have a studio, but I don't have a shop. And I keep getting a question about, do I have a shop? I don't have an actual shop yet. I have a studio, and it's all junked up. I'm not even going to turn the camera around because you'll call the TV show hoarders and send them
Yes.
over. So, yeah, my mother just says yes. It's really bad.
It's hard.
It's hard. Yeah, we need more space.
We trip a lot.
But we trip a lot, yeah. Haven't lost any of my front teeth with trips yet, but have some spectacular falls in here with wires and everything. Lots of booby traps. But yeah, so I will be at a couple of fairs. Litchfield, their sort of Harvest Festival on September 18th, and then Wethersfield, these are both Connecticut, October 2nd. So those 2 weekends I'm out and about with supplies, stock, swatch sets, kits, everything. I'll be there in person to those 2 things. And then I have a couple more classes coming up in Madison, Connecticut at Madison Wool, Mad Wool. And I'm going to be doing at least one thing a month there. So if you are local, it's a good thing to lock into because I will do a different class every month there. And they will be on the very fun side. I will always offer technical to people who are walking in who have never looked at a hook or held a hook before. I'll always adapt and work with those people in every class that I do. But there's going to be a lot of very different classes coming up. So coming up on September 19th, I'm running a Van Gogh class there. And it's going to be hooking your Starry Night with the pattern that I did, but leaving the foreground blank. So we're going to be doing something where you can either go with the New England village that I hooked under my Starry Night, or Van Gogh's French village under Starry Night. The thing is the Starry Night, right? Or nothing, or sunflowers, or there's going to be a whole bunch of different choices. Some people who are super creative that I already know are going to attend are thinking about things they might hand draw into that small space under the Starry Night. But I'm going to have lots of layers of fiber tape so people can choose what they want under their Starry Night, customize their pattern. And it's going to be a 3-hour class, and it's going to come with a huge bag of the Swatch, the Van Gogh Swatch stuff, all the mixed fibers, a bunch of velvets, a whole bunch of different things every person is going to get. So it's going to be a really fun class. That's September 19th in Madison, Connecticut. And then also Madison, Connecticut, October 3rd, I'm running a Halloween-themed class. So I'm still feeling that one out, what I'm going to do in that class, but it's definitely going to have a Halloween feel to it. It's going to be Halloween sort of pumpkins or something like that, something traditional, but done in a very fun way. So I'm working that through in my head right now. There's also a date coming up on October 9th in Vermont, near Montpelier, pretty north in Vermont, Mad River Fibers. That store, I'm going to be teaching there the punching and hooking. I haven't decided what 2 patterns to bring yet, so if you're going, let me know what you think. I think I'll definitely bring the owl, right, the Moonlight Becomes You from last October, and maybe a new pattern for that class. So that's coming up October 9th. So all those things are coming up. If you are anywhere near me, I can drive to you, tri-state area, or anywhere in New England, let me know. I'm always looking for more places to do classes, particularly yarn stores are a good one because they want to sell their yarn, and they usually have a space for classes, or historic houses, anything like that. I would love to come. You know how I love weekend trips and staying in seedy motels. I love that stuff.
Seedy motels.
Diners, seedy motels, teach a class. It's perfection.
Perfection.
All that is coming up. Where are you on 10/2? 10 is October, right? I'm in Wethersfield, Kira, at a fair. If you want to come work it with me. It's a beautiful town. It vies with Windsor, Connecticut. Those are the 2 towns in Connecticut that are constantly battling for which one is the oldest town in Connecticut. Wethersfield is gorgeous, beautiful old Main Street, historic houses where the sort of patriot, allegedly turned spy Silas Dean is from. a beautiful tavern on the main street. It's a gorgeous little town. They vie with Windsor, but of course one was incorporated first and one was settled first. So they will eternally have this argument, and they're both right. It's nice when that happens, isn't it? Cindy says, the woman who played Marcia is a quilter and has designed a line of fabric. Now, what was her name? Maureen McGovern? Was it something like that? Maureen McGovern. Why did that just pop into my head?
Maureen McGovern.
Does sound like a singer. Maureen, or something McGovern. Help me out here. One of you knows, right? That popped right in.
No idea for the
Yes.
Brady's.
Okay, good. All right. I love the side conversations. So you know what? I also wanted to tell you, I'm too leery about running cocktail time on Friday. I'm sorry, while I'm in Maine, because I'm going to be there the night before for starting first thing in the morning to teach a class. So I'm again just too nervous to think about getting commentary and bingo and all that stuff ready when I'm just not sure that the signal is going to be good enough for me to come to you live. It's so much hassle and so stressful when the signal comes and goes. So I'm so sorry about this, but I am going to push our next bingo night back to not this coming Friday, but the following Friday. And again, I'm so sorry about that. I know it is a very protracted amount of Fridays between our two bingo nights. This has been a heavy teaching month for me and quite some distances. So I'm doing a bit of staying away, before classes. McCormick, that's it. So Maureen McGovern must have been a singer,
was a
right?
singer,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay, my mom's
I
sure
think the
about
morning
that.
after,
Thank
there's
you,
gotta be a
Cindy.
morning after, I think,
Oh,
for
the morning after. That
sure.
was
There's
a
got to be a
morning after.
I thought that was for maybe
I
not.
think so. She usually
I'm a
knows. She's
geek.
usually right.
I don't get things right very often.
Yeah. But anyway, so let's do that. So I'm not going to run a show on Friday night, sadly. I will make it up to you, I promise. So that means I'm going to run another coffee time tomorrow. I'll do a coffee time tomorrow, same time, noon, Eastern Standard Time here. And then I'm going to, then I'm going to be gone for the weekend in Maine, and maybe I will see you there. So let's get into this. We are so late already. Magnificent Hook Drugs. I'm still looking at this book because there's still facets to it. I'm skipping 99% of it, and I'm still finding so many things to tell you that I think are just so good. So we were talking about Janet Conner's book about she's pulling from history. She's pulling from different periods in history. I'm going to change my glasses out. And honestly, it's quickly becoming my new favorite book. I think it might be my favorite book. It's, it has that, my mom's laughing.
I'm laughing in the background.
It has that great mix of history and rug hooking and art, right? It's like a triptych. It's like the holy trinity of greatness here on my lap. So when she gets into talking about medieval art, it's so interesting because we were talking yesterday. She was sort of building the bridge to Egyptian art and all those, this sort of dawn of real civilization, people settling and getting more involved in agriculture, staying in one place, languages evolving, more traveling happening. You're not, if you're traveling, it means you start at one point and you're visiting somewhere new. You're not just nomads, just wandering aimlessly, searching for new lands to conquer. So $2 from Will. Oh, thank you so much. I thought that was a message. Thank you so much. And I love the pear. That's so cute. Oh my God. It looks like the pear with an exercise band around his head. That reminds me, I need to call Jazzercise. I'm joining Jazzercise. Does anybody belong? I didn't even know it still existed, and then I saw one was local. Does anybody do Jazzercise? Because I am so done. I loved Zumba, and I haven't been to the gym for like a year and a half because of you know what. But does anybody do that? Because for me, the Zumba is so awful. They play the most dreadful music I've ever heard. I'm not a big popular music person to begin with, and it is like pulsatingly loud and horrific. And I'm thinking Jazzercise, they might do more like old-timey music or show tunes or jazz, maybe. I'm wondering if you know, let me know, because I think I'm going to go spend some money and sign up there, try to get these 40 pounds back off. So, thank you. I think that's Joan. Is that you? I think that's Joan. Or Ralda. I always get confused with the two W's, the code names. So she's transitioning here to medieval art, which is a great period in art history, and also a great period to pull rug hooking patterns from, right? So she talks about, as she does so well, how for the next 1,000 years after the period we were talking about yesterday, From 500 BC to 1500 BC, the world of Western art languished in the Dark Ages. So, you know, the world was in the Dark Ages, but life went on and art went on. So we're going to see some imagery from that time. That time, you know, there was a lot of churches and stained glass windows at that time. So it's not like nothing was happening and the world was truly dark, like Baryshnikov White Nights, you know, Russian style. It's just a term for a period that was a step backwards, essentially. She says, why so dark? The light of learning, civilization, and political stability blinked out when Rome fell in 476. Barbarians, and she puts in parentheses, illiterate, non-Christian, by medieval definition, were on the move across Europe and across the Mediterranean. Rome withdrew from its furthest and most difficult governed provinces and left behind an administrative and communication infrastructure that in the form of, this is a little bit dense, but what she's saying was when the Roman Empire fell, those people scattered, and they were really holding down the picnic blanket of civilization, the beginning of true civilization and people having roots. And when that happened, they scattered to different places and far sort of fetched places, real extreme. And that created space for people who were sort of more nomadic again to come in warlike and be taking over, and things becoming a bit less permanent, right? Going back many steps to the society before, which was not much of a society. It was kind of divide and conquer, seat of the pants kind of living. So she talks about that a little bit in terms of what life was like during this time and why that period is called the Dark Ages. But she does talk about early Christian art, and this is in the Byzantine Empire, and this is a big crossover with rug cooking, because I know that you've seen lots of images like this. Rug cooking magazines, social media, images like this are just over the top. Whether you feel religious or not, you cannot deny that something like this is just, and I don't know if you can tell, but there's a lot of metallic in here. Not the background with the gold, but these bits and pieces, right? I'm going to tell you about this in just a second. Oh, really, Jill? You know, everybody I've heard of, I don't know anybody directly, but everybody says a friend of a friend of a friend does jazzercise and loves it because they love the music. So I'm really hoping that might work. Joan, see, I got it right the first time. I'm not so bad. Sometimes the memory still works. Not with Maureen McGovern, but sometimes. So this was an image of the Empress Theodora. It was taken from a mosaic. It was taken from this mosaic. Right here, right? And there she is. Theodora. So let's hear more about that, because you know, when you lock into somebody, if you're looking through history, you're looking at your history books, you're looking at old magazines, you're down a rabbit hole on Pinterest or on the internet, and you find somebody, particularly in history, who you really connect with, identify with, just someone so outrageous and different and special, and you want to do a rug hook like this of Theodora. So Empress Theodora, hand-cut mixed widths, wool on linen, adapted and hooked by Janet Connor herself, the author, Hiram, Maine, 2018. And she says this is primarily wool. Empress Theodora mosaic also contains many yards of 1/8 and 1/4 inch gold ribbon. So that's what all those little dit dots were. Very Klimt style, isn't it? All those little dit dots. Of course, Klimt is mosaic style. Klimt is after this sort of school of art. So she did that with just gold ribbon. And of course, you can hook with anything. If it goes through the backing, you can hook with anything. It's just the question is how durable does it need to be? Is it on the floor? Does it need to be durable? Because if it's not, you can put Empress Theodora on the wall with all that gold ribbon. And why shouldn't you, right? As well as hand-dyed gold sparkle wool from Dore. That is beautiful. In order to get the appearance of mosaic tiles, I first used a tiny hook and hand-cut number 3 strips to create an uneven grid of grout lines. I'll show you the image again. Next, I filled each tile with a strip of wool, custom to fit, in other words, representing the tessera, the individual tiles. Remember when we took that mosaic class, Mom?
Oh, God, that was so wonderful.
It was so wonderful. We took it in
That was
Brookfield.
a few days, right?
Yeah, that was the whole weekend. We took was
It was
when
a
I
weekend.
was giving her. We have to get back to that, like a class for Christmas, and we did a mosaic class, and we cut tessera with a wet saw. I don't
Yeah.
know why we.
Yeah.
I don't know why I chose that one. What business did we have using a wet saw? But it really was. It really was fun, wasn't it? We made some
was.
beautiful
Trivets.
trivets. Yeah.
I still got them in the kitchen. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. They were gorgeous. So this is all what she's talking about with the hand-cut ribbon. But Theodora is what inspired Janet to even do this piece. And listen to this, because this is falling in love right here. She says the Empress Theodora, 500 to 548, was a remarkable woman in history. Of Greek and Cypriot origins, she was born in Syria. Her father was a bear trainer for the Hippodrome in Constantinople, Constantinople is what now?
Dun, 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 was Constantinople. I can't remember.
What is Constantinople
Someone's
now?
going to know the song.
Good Lord, my brain is not. Oh man, it'll come to me like this. Istanbul, isn't it Istanbul?
Was
I think Istanbul is Constantinople.
Yep,
Anyway,
right.
her dad was a bear trainer at the Hippodrome in Constantinople, and her mother was a dancer and an actress. This is shocking, isn't it? Theodora followed her mother into this lifestyle, which was considered a very low estate and tantamount to prostitution.
Yeah.
When she caught Justinian's eye, he changed the law forbidding a senator or future emperor to marry an actress. And he married her in 525 and accepted the daughter that she already had. That's something, isn't it?
For that time frame?
Something. I hadn't read this part yet.
He must have loved her.
He must have loved her. Later, during the riots of an attempted political coup, it was Theodora who stood fast and rallied the troops when Justinian was ready to flee. She ruled alongside him for many years and was a controversial woman in her time. So Janet really fell in love with the story of Theodora and ends up doing that beautiful piece. That's the thing, right? Isn't it to find material that you love, and then you find something like the mosaic that already exists, and you're there, right? You're really there. Now, I used this great Neysa Russo image yesterday as the thumbnail, right? So you saw that yesterday. That's King George and the Dragon. Absolutely beautiful. And I don't know if I put it in today. I think I did. The link to her page, all her hooking designs that I have, but of course her Etsy shop has all the wool felting kits to do the same designs. All her designs are beautiful. This one I want to show you too. It's called Medieval Fable. Now this is a great example of finding a fable or story, because these are storytelling cultures, right? These are not write it down cultures. These are oral history cultures, storytelling. That's how the stories are spread. This is how history is passed down. It's not foolproof, is it? But it's the way that it was done. So this is an example of a medieval fable. Let me show it to you first. I think that is extraordinary. It looks like it's from the Book of Kells or something like that, right? Really, so different. And we are heading toward Celtic art at this point, not quite yet. Medieval fable, 21 by 22 fine cut wool, designed and hooked by Roberta Smith, Lower Waterford, Vermont. Roberta tells us this rug was designed from a 13th century medieval bestiary in London. I found the picture and liked the story. So obviously it goes without being said, something like that is copyright free. What did she say? 13th century medieval bestiary. The artist has obviously been dead for more than 100 years. Otherwise we got a serious ghost story going. So that is fair game. It's always worth checking, but it's fair game. If you're selling it commercially, if it's for you, absolutely do it. A whale entices the sailors to believe they have landed on an island. Once they have settled down on land, the whale does a deep dive, drowning and eating them. This sounds like a bit of the not Fox and the Grapes. It sounds like another Aesop's Fables. It really does. I can't put my finger on it. It sounds just like one of those. Also, it says that the whale's breath was so sweet that it attracted little fish, which were then also eaten. So this is one determined whale. And it's a great story, right? It's a great story. So interesting. That's the boat that has landed on the whale's back thinking it's an island and bad things are about to happen. But interesting composition, absolutely beautiful. And, I want to point out, too, that in this composition, very much in keeping with medieval illustration and illumination, the faces are not done, right? They're quite anonymous, they're very generic, and I think that helps the composition. For me, when you're looking from face to face and you're searching for various expressions, it can be distracting. Right now we've got the perfect composition. You've got something round this way. I'm always working backwards here. This way and this way, right? Like opposites, like two bananas facing opposite ways. That's going to be a great composition because that's like an X, isn't it, at the end of the day? So this is already a great composition. You want to look at what the motifs are, the stories, the things that are important, not expressions on people's faces. So for me, this works so well. It's a beautiful, beautiful piece. I can't tell you, I'm just flipping through pages. I can't tell you how much art is in this book. You know, for example, right here on the brink of Celtic art, this is the one I used today, right? This beauty right here, the yellow one, that is Celtic design, 14 by 22 on wool on rug warp, designed and hooked by Tanya Nodell with Knodel. We've had that name before. She does beautiful work in Sudbury, Ontario. So this Celtic piece. Now, what's so fantastic and different about this? Well, the entire thing, right? The knotwork around the edges, the central motif, but certainly the color. Certainly the color. Isn't that unexpected? And, you know, this bit is about Celtic art, and as usual, Janet gives us pictures like this as an example. She says, you know, do this, do something like this. She gives you tons of drawings to work with. I mean, it's incredibly generous and helpful. That piece I just showed you is one of Janet's drawings. It's called Celtic Metalwork. But in this chapter, I'll do Celtic and then I'll stop here until tomorrow. It's so good. Did you notice this footstool too, right here? It's got kind of a like a icy, ice creamy pink background, bordering on like a lilac. Such an interesting color of pink. Celtic birds on footstool, also on rug warp, designed by Kim Nixon and hooked by Julie Gibson, Tucson, Arizona, 2007. And the one at the bottom, in case you saw it, is called Dempsey's Dogs, 62-inch diameter, wool on linen, designed and hooked by Ellen Jaworski, Dexter, Michigan, 2008. So these are some of the Celtic ones. You love it when my mom joins in, Cindy. She's right here.
I love it too.
She's scratching around, putting her kits together.
Putting the kids together.
So this chapter on Celtic art, like all of these, are so interesting. I just want to read this part because read all of it. Get the book and read all of it. It's a nice, concise walk through history. She makes so many bridges for you, so your mind goes, of course. That's why the Dark Ages is called the Dark Ages. She makes it so easy. But she talks about Celtic art in this manner. The Celtic influence on medieval art was immense and lasting. The Celts were a tribal culture from Central Europe that had existed long before the Roman Empire. They had their own pagan beliefs and mythology, and the loose association of tribes was quite warlike. At one point, they had attacked Rome before the rise of the empire, and eventually the Romans pushed them to the far edges of the empire, relegating them to Scotland, Ireland, Wales, Brittany, and Scandinavia. In 789 AD, the first Viking longships attacked the English monastery at Lindisfarne. Vikings continued to terrorize the countryside for a generation or two, then began to settle in with the populations, eventually converting to Christianity. It was from this period that we see classic Celtic imagery in Christian art. So this is this very small wrinkle in time when there's this, it's a couple generations, where there's this crossover, where the Vikings arrive and they are horribly scary, menacing, threatening, dangerous, but in the end, it takes 2 generations for them to settle into the population. And for this art to come together. So, you know, in a lot of ways, we look at Celtic art and it does look a lot like Scandinavian art. And that is why, because these people were relegated to the kind of outposts of civilization during these unending wars, right, from this period. Before 1000 AD, we are talking about constant wars, right? That flash in the pan when the Roman Empire kind of prevailed, and they had many outposts, and the rule of the day was civilization, libraries, art, farming, and then it kind of fell backward again, didn't it? And people started to become very tribal and warlike again. Pendulum will swing again, as it always does. So the Celtic chapter is another fantastic chapter, but I want to leave it there because I want to look at this book one more day tomorrow, and I'm about a third or a quarter of the way through the book, so I'll never get through all the different subjects she covers in the book, but I want to hit it one more time tomorrow because it's so much fun to look at this book together and talk a little bit about ancient history. Lots of fun. So the Odyssey for the Whale and the Island, maybe. Oh, Catherine, what a great idea. You know, that's a great idea. I have not read the Odyssey since I was in school, or the Iliad, any of those classical. Beowulf? These must contain, I don't think they contain illustrations, but certainly if you looked up illustrations for these, there would be old ones, I'm sure, that are copyright free. Or you could work on designing something using a classic text like that. Wouldn't that be interesting? You know, and what's so nice about that is, to go with your idea of the Odyssey, if you were to do with something with, like, for example, Lotus Eater or something like that, it would be quite familiar to a lot of people, right? Many people know the story of the Odyssey, and they would know about the Lotus Eaters, and when they saw it, they would immediately recognize what you were doing and what all the motifs were. So those are great ones to think about. That's a good suggestion, not just pulling from history, but pulling from old literature, right? Chaucer. We already blew past medieval, but thinking about Chaucer and all the different tales of all the different pilgrims, some funny ones, some violent ones, but in any case, lots. And we're pretty familiar with many of those stories, Wife of Bath, right? So interesting. That's a really good idea too. We are talking about all history here. Maybe we need a book that covers rug hooking. We need to do the rugs first. We need to, because I'm working on several books right now. But maybe we should think about this for like 3 years from now, 2 years from now, if we're pushing it. Maybe we should think about hooking some rugs based on myths and texts, mythology and texts, rather than actual history. Wouldn't that be interesting? What do you think, Mom?
It sounds great.
It does, doesn't it? Ooh, it sounds like there'd be such rich colors and so many different subjects and so many different stories. And of course, you know, thinking about myths and legends from other cultures. I mean, we live in the U.S. and, you know, and lived in the Netherlands. But other cultures, you know, I always think about, I hope I haven't said this before, I'm so boring sometimes, I can't remember what I've said and what I haven't said, but I remember when I used to be a tour guide, I used to do a lot of storytelling in different parts of the country, and when we were out west doing Yellowstone Park and stuff, if we ever got caught in a traffic jam because of like a rock slide or literally a bison on the road and we couldn't get past, like a traffic jam of bison, that kind of thing, I would start telling stories from local people, right? So from like Native American, the Native American tribes, the Lakota, that kind of thing, that we were out in their country. And I remember one of them was such a good story about possum, or the opossum, right? The story of why his little tail is bald. Have you heard this? Apparently, according to, I think it was Lakota legend, I'm not sure if it was Lakota, but certainly a Native American culture, one of the tribes had this legend, very specific, about how there was like this one group, this little gaggle, a little gang of like big human type giants, and they had fire. They had a flame and they had fire. And they were hoarding the fire and they wouldn't let any other creature have it, right? And there were other people around who were like living in the dark who needed the fire to cook and to eat and to survive and stay warm. And Possum understood this. And Possum made this heroic journey where he ran to where like the giant people who were the evil hoarders of the fire lived. And he stuck his tail into the fire and he ran back to where the nice people lived. I'm telling this story horribly. And he gave them the fire. And as a result, humanity got fire, had fire, kept fire, understood it, understood how to make it and how it worked. But Possum never grew the hair or the fur back on his little tail. And I always thought that was such a great story. And wouldn't that make a great hooked rug? And aren't there at least 10 bazillion more of those great stories that you could do such a nice image like that and put it on your hooked rug? Those would fit great into a book on myths and storytelling specifically, right? Real specifically. I like this idea. You love it when Helen joins and sings. In the background, they might be giants. And Catherine says, my 3-year-old grandson looked at the entire book with me. Oh, how nice is that? Oh, how nice is that?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I love all these ideas. All right, well, I will let you go tonight. We're going to finish doing our kits. Working away on that, and again, lots of announcements, but I will be back with you tomorrow before we make the trip. My mom's coming with me to Maine. If you're going to be there, you'll see her too. She's going to help me because it's just so much to be passing stuff out and answering questions, and I like to be mentally available and sincere when I'm talking to people, and it's hard to do when I'm by myself, so she's going to come with me. I have a car or a call, says my speaker. It's probably a call. I wish it were a car. I will see you. I have a car. I have a call. I will see you tomorrow. Oh my gosh. I will see you tomorrow. I'm sorry, she won't stop. Have a great day. Noon tomorrow, Eastern Standard Time. Take care until then. The disembodied voice telling me I have a car.